then we have the reality of the legal scenario that many of these protesters from January 6th are facing. And many of these protesters, about 800 people have been charged following that protest that went wild, that turned into some law-breaking activity and some violence, which of course we do not endorse. That part, although I will not ever conflate the peaceful protest that happened on January 6th with the violence. That was a few fringe crazies, and that's separate from the vast majority of people who were present for a legitimate concern on that day. And those people should not be demonized. The left tries to demonize them, and that should also tell you what the true agenda of the left is. They want to paint us all as terrorists. They're not interested in the truth. They're not interested in holding people who broke the law accountable to the law. So what law exactly was it that some of these individuals on January 6th broke? Well, according to the Biden Department of Justice, who has charged them, the law that they broke in large part was 40 U.S. Code 5104. And what that federal statute does, it, quote, bans parade, demonstrate, or picketing in any of the Capitol buildings. Okay, so it's a protest inside the Capitol. That's all it is. A protest inside the Capitol. It's illegal. A lot of them were also charged. A lot of these folks from January 6th, some of the 800, were also charged under 18 U.S. Code 1512. What does that statute say? That statute prohibits protests, quote, that otherwise obstruct, influence, or impedes any official proceeding or attempt to do so. So these are two nonviolent crimes. One, simply you're not allowed to protest inside the Capitol, and the other is you are not allowed to obstruct or impede a federal or an official proceeding. Those are fairly benign things to be charged for. I'm not endorsing it. I'm just saying this is not throwing a Molotov cocktail at an NYPD car. Oh, that's a real thing, and we'll talk about that in just a second. This is what the January 6th, many of the January 6th protesters, many of these 800, these threats to our democracy were charged under these very, very vanilla, very boring, very dry statutes. You're not allowed to protest inside the Capitol. You're not allowed to obstruct, even peacefully, a official proceeding. Okay, I understand why, but let's just understand what the charge is. Compare that to the protesters outside of the Supreme Court justices' homes, outside of Brett Kavanaugh's home, outside of Amy Coney Barrett's home, after the majority opinion, that draft opinion was leaked by the Supreme Court leaker who, funnily enough, not to get off on a tangent here, the FBI still claims, or the marshal of the court, I should say, still claims they're not sure who it is. Right. After this amount of time, you can't determine exactly who that person is out of a pool of 12 Supreme Court clerks who are liberal. Sure. Okay. Again, the bias of the federal government here. So these people, these pro-abortion picketers, we'll call them, outside of these Supreme Court homes, were also in violation of federal law that was very, very similar to the law under which the January 6th protesters were charged. This is what federal law prohibits: protesting outside of a Supreme Court justice's personal residence. 18 U.S. Code 1507 prohibits picketing, parading in or near a building housing a court of the United States, or in or near a building or residence occupied or used by such judge, juror, witness, or court officer. They are prohibited when it is done with the intent of interfering with, obstructing, or impeding the administration of justice. So it's almost word for word identical. Yet, what's the difference? The January 6th folks have been rotting in prison for the last year, and the folks that were parading and picketing and protesting and impeding outside of the Supreme Court justices' homes in violation of a statute that is nearly word for word the same? Nothing. Nada. The Biden Department of Justice has zero intent, zero interest in charging any of those people.